Hi, you're sitting there for the first couple seconds wondering, wow, Knackers looks like different. You'd be correct. I'm fatter. The worldwide Panera Bread quarantine has added 35 pounds onto my body, but we're still here. Apparently it has been 7 months since my last video regarding this office and the revamp. No excuses. Just a little bit of honesty. I am so fucking lost. I am doing everything and nothing at the exact same time. I'm completely helpless. So anyways, recap. I've been very slowly working on the entirety of this office. Everything except for touching my actual gaming computer, I've been working on. So there's been 2 videos on the revamp of this office so far. So this is the first video that you're seeing. This is what the office looked like beforehand, before I even got started. Still great, just needing some upgrades. The original project was just to build a rack that I could put my streaming PC and my audio equipment into. And then I started taking things apart and undoing cable management. And all of a sudden I needed a new part of a desk. And it just kind of snowballed into this bigger, much more detailed project. So here's a super quick recap of what you've missed.
We took apart half of the office. We dropped some things. We did some diddly dancing under the desk, continued to take things apart, deleted half of the desk, found some goodies in the carpet, observed the urination station, built and moved in some new cabinets, cleaned the urination station, cut up a new desk to wall gang, picked a fight with some masking tape, came up with a plan B. Oh, we did some sketchy shit. Built a server rack, took apart the streaming PC, redid all cable management, drank whiskey and more cable management, and test fitted the server rack.
I'm recording this intro before I know exactly what I'm going to put in this video. I know I'm going to show the deconstruction of the streaming PC into its new case, possibly putting together the rack, and there's some other things I might throw in there as well. So let's get started. So as you can see, the gaming PC is set up. I got the stream decks ready to go. So I obviously have some drywall repair to do back there from the cable management track. Not much I can do about that. It is what it is. Lovely candle burning. But yeah, that whole area, if you remember what it looked like before, it was so cramped, and now it looks nice and clean. The desk is there. I think I need to do a little bit of adjustment. Also, you guys are gonna laugh at this. It fucking hits the door. I gotta trim it or something. But anyways, yeah, absolutely love cable management. Yeah, look at that. Not bad. Oh, I mean, if you guys only knew what it looked like before, it was bad. It was very, very bad. So now the next project is to take this lovely streaming PC and transplant it into the case. Hey, kitty. Oh, hi, Boba. You guys hungry? Also, welcome officially to Craft Room 2.0. This is going to be the future 3D print craft station. So this is my side of the desk and the lady side of the desk over here. You can see the Ender 5 Pro sitting there just waiting to be built as soon as I'm done with this project. Okay, so there are a few things that are important to me for this next streaming PC build. One is sex appeal. Number 2 is cooling. So I absolutely love this NZXT case. It is one of my favorite looking cases of all time. Its downsides are it is tight inside. There is no room for anything. I mean, even just trying to fit like a dual fan radiator for water cooling is quite difficult. So as you can see, I stuck with air cooling here. But even then, with this absolute solid face on it, there's no cooling. It's really difficult to cool. So there's a couple modifications that I made to the server case, but those are kind of the 2 big things that I'm looking for. So as you can see, I have removed the handles that are on the front of this case, and then there were also 3 5 1/4 bay covers that I had removed. This is an Icy Dock quad hard drive docking system. There is no backplane. I assume that there was because of how much I paid for it, but unfortunately there is not, which isn't the worst because having a backplane means less airflow. This will be more airflow, so that's cool. So this is actually going to be going right in here, and this is where all of my hard drives are gonna. Would you stop tap dancing? So this is modification 1. Modification 2, stock fans, they gotta go. I picked up these Cooler Master Halo fans. Again, sex appeal. But 2, my number 3 is gonna be in the back. These dual 80mm fans are gonna be replaced with some Noctua fans. Not the shit brown ones, probably the black ones. Haven't ordered those yet. I'll swap those out when I get them. Modification 4, I think we're up to. One of the things that I'm losing with this case, there are 2 USB 3 front panel USB and there are 2 USB 2. This case has 2 USB 2, but I really don't want anything plugging into the front of the case. I want it on the rear of the case. So I purchased a couple different adapters that I'm going to be trying out. This first one is a dual USB 2.0 header to a PCI slot. What I'm going to do is actually flatten out this piece of metal, use a Dremel to cut out a piece of the back of the case, and then mount these. So that will be 4 additional USB headers. It'll actually be 2 additional than what I had with this original case. And then on top of that, because I don't have front panel USB 3, I went ahead and did the same thing for USB 3. I got a USB 3 to, which I think is supposed to be a PCI slot mount. I assume it's supposed to be something along the same lines of this, where this is a half PCI slot, and that is also going to get a piece of the back cut out so that can be mounted. Modification number 5 was going to be an LED panel on the top of the case. There's so much room for lighting and some cool effects. However, I realized something as soon as I bought this case. Actually, as soon as it arrived. I realized that this cooler might be a little tall for this case. And I am not gonna know until I put it in. I've seen some reviews that some people have made it work, some people haven't, and I was either just going to cut a hole for the radiator to fit, or this Kraken X62, which came out of my gaming PC a couple months ago. I have the AMD bracket for it, but I would have to make modification number 6 to try and make this radiator fit somewhere in there. Now, the cool thing about moving all of my hard drives over to this one chamber where there's a dedicated fan is I have removed all of the hard drive trays that exist in these 2 bays. So if you were to look inside right here, it's nothing but an open chamber. So if I wanted to find a way to mount this radiator on the inside of the case with 2 more fans blowing up right against it, I might be okay. Otherwise, I might have to find a different way to mount it. So right now, I'm kind of hoping that thing's gonna fit. If it doesn't, I'll probably just roll with the panel off until I can figure out how to modify this. And then, yeah, so time to do some test fitting. It's like, oh man, it's so close. Just those goddamn copper pipes. I might cut them off. All right, so as you can see, the copper pipes are 1/8 of an inch too tall, which is quite unfortunate. Now what I'm gonna work on is getting the cooler out, making sure I have everything that I need for the Kraken to mount properly. There should be enough clearance right here for me to kind of ghetto rig the radiator with an extra set of fans. So it's just a matter of, you know, maybe I'll 3D print some type of mounting mechanism when I get it up and running. But for now, it looks like Cooler Master's gotta go, Kraken's gotta go in. I think it was about time to add some thermal paste, don't you think? I am now checking to see if Micro Center has any dual fan coolers. I don't think the cooler that I have is compatible. I also seem to be missing some of the hardware, which is unfortunate, but we're gonna see what Micro Center has. Dude, 280mm Kraken coolers are $270? What the fuck? Are these real prices? Somehow bought 2 of the same exact connectors. However, this one came with the PCI plate, and that's what I'm interested in. Screws too tiny. I might have to cut off some of this, unless I just want to do the USB 2 a little bit closer. Maybe I can trim off a little bit of the PCI plate on this one. Let's say right about there, and that would fit. Oh,
think that's the play.
All right, so this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna take this, I'm gonna cut it here, and then take this guy, cut it here, and then I'm gonna use these pre-existing screws, mount that into this. Now this black piece was the PCI slot locking mechanism for my old case. I'm not gonna use it. It's kind of whatever, but it's a perfect plate that is gonna be able to go right there. Fits absolutely perfectly. It's gonna be great. Modification number 47. There was no way to mount this particular cage in this type of server rack, so I just took it upon myself to drill my own hole there to mount, and right there, oh yeah, right there. So it's in there now. It's safe. All right, the next step is to actually swap out these fans for something worthwhile. Yes. Nice. I got it. Oh, the halo ring of the fan is gonna peek through right on the edge of the fan grill. Oh, didn't even know that was there. Oh, that's how you get to the screws. Okay. All right, came up with a new plan after all that. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna cut out these little punch outs right here. And then these on the inside, I'm gonna use those existing screw holes and they will get mounted on the inside there. So USB 3 went over there, and the USB 2 guy over here. And I think that these should be non-obtrusive so that I can still screw in and unscrew PCI stuff. But if it's not the end of the world. This stuff is super easy to screw and unscrew, so might just be a sacrifice. Boomski. I obviously cut it a little large, but better to be large and in charge, know what I'm saying? All right, so got it mounted. It's obviously going to block PCI slot access, but that's okay. I'm fine with having to remove these things in order to get to it. No biggie, but pretty solid. I obviously could have left this right here, but I was afraid of going too small compared to going too big. Just because like I only have a Dremel, so it's a lot harder to make really, really small cuts compared to the bigger cuts. I could just fit the wheel there. So I'll probably find something to patch that up with, but honestly, even though it looks jank, I'm happy with it. All right, now we're talking. Beautiful. Dude, this mustache is prospering right now. It's never looked that good. I'm actually, it's kind of crazy. So I have never had this happen to me before. I have never began a project and began documenting said project and been so derailed by unfortunate circumstances in the middle to the point where I've completely forgot that I'm even making a video, and I just stopped documenting altogether. I've been working on transferring my streaming PC into a rack mount PC. There's a brand new rack that is sitting behind me that has my streaming PC in it. I actually migrated a large portion of my streaming equipment into the rack to give myself some more desk space, prepare for future upgrades, that kind of stuff. I had completed the case transplant. All of the parts made it in. I did test fittings. I ended up not being able to use my existing Hyper 212 Plus cooler. What I did was I swapped in a Kraken X63. It's a 280 millimeter radiator. After the computer parts got into the case and after the case got into the rack. After the 5th reboot, I noticed that one of my hard drives had automatically changed its name to the exact same name as another drive, and its drive letter had changed. I opened up that drive and realized that 90% of the contents were missing. In the root of that drive, there were 7 folders, and only one of those folders existed, a folder I didn't care about. It was an archive folder. So I said, that's really weird. Drive wasn't partitioned. The partition wasn't shrunk. It wasn't one of those issues where you've got a 3 terabyte drive, but it's only being, only 2 terabytes of it is being recognized. And so I rebooted, I pulled the drive, put the drive in another machine, still doing the same thing in another machine. I drilled down into my Acronis backups to that directory and verified, yes, I'm looking at the drive, all of these folders are missing, what the fuck? Double checked, make sure I didn't grab another drive that was hanging around. Nope. Almost guaranteed that this is the drive that's supposed to be in there. And so I thought, okay, no big deal. I've got the Acronis backups. I have my file backups. I've got Resilio Sync running between my gaming PC and my streaming PC that keeps all my files synced. I'll be fine. I reboot, the first reboot after the system restore, I blue screened and I got a critical process has died. A BSOD that I've never seen on Windows 10 before or experienced myself. Even all of the IT work that I do for my day job. Boot loop, boot loop, boot loop, boot loop. And I said, what the hell is going on? And so first thing I do is I boot into a Medicat and I'm like, are my files still there? There's no partitions. It says the drive is there and it's only showing the X partition, the recovery partition. Okay, that's not a good sign. So I boot into the Windows recovery and I use command prompt to try and CD into the directory of where my files are. Not there. Okay. Starting to panic a little bit. I then launch a Linux live CD. I think I just used Puppy Linux. It was whatever I had on hand. And partition is there. The main partition is there. The recovery partition is there. But my EFI and my MSR partitions are gone. Just completely gone. So I'm like, okay, well that makes sense why it's not booting. So I go through the process of loading up a Windows repair disk, and then I get into command prompt and I attempt to rebuild those 2 partitions manually to repair the boot manager. And I cracked at that for hours and just could not get it to work. Weird things kept happening, like kept telling me that directories didn't exist or that drive letters were already in use when they weren't in use. Really, really odd stuff. So I'm like, okay, let's forget about this. For me, if I have to spend more than 5 hours trying to get an operating system to reboot, I'm going to try and just reinstall the operating system. That's just how I work. So I go to launch Acronis to figure out how to restore. I've been using Acronis for 5 years. 5 years, and not once have I ever had to do a restore. And boy, did I figure out how much of a pain it was. And I don't know if it's all backup software that is this big of a pain in the ass. Acronis sure is a pain in the ass. And then I realized that, in order to do a full restore of my operating system or of one of these other disks that I have to create bootable media. And then when I went to go do that, none of the drivers were working that were loading the software correctly. Just a massive, massive pain. Once I got through all of that, about 5 hours of troubleshooting, just trying to get to the bottom of the Acronis backups, I got to the point where Acronis was launched. I was able to browse the directories of my machine, and then I went to go and try and connect to my NAS where the Acronis backups are stored. It's an UD-RAID server that's over in my rack over here. Nothing special, just a bunch of disks. And I go to load the backup, and it says backup is corrupted. And that was the only full backup that I had. Because 2 weeks ago, I realized that Acronis had been failing at cleaning itself up after backing up. So I had 8 months of backups that were taking up like 15 terabytes on my NAS, and I didn't realize it. So I'm like, all right, I'll just wipe it, do another full backup tonight. And then because it had only been a couple weeks, I had 1 full backup and 2 incremental backups. Try to load the first incremental, corrupted. Try to load the second incremental, corrupted. Okay, so every Acronis file state backup that I have of this computer is dead. Cool, let's just go over to Sync Back Free, which is what I use for a secondary file backup. Those files aren't there. They're gone. I go to look at the backup profile, says the profile is running, files just aren't there. I'm like, cool, both my backups are bad. And so I sit here stewing, crying, trying to figure out what my next fucking step is. And I realize, okay, what if it's just a communication error between my computer and the NAS as to why it can't restore the backup? Let's try something else. So the largest external hard drive that I had was a 2 terabyte Western Digital Passport USB 2. So I plug it into my gaming rig and I transfer the 700 gigs worth of data from my NAS to the external drive. And then I plug in the drive to the down computer, I boot into the Acronis utility, and it sees the files. I'm like, okay, moment of truth, moment of truth, moment of truth. I select the only
full backup, and it recognizes it. I don't get the corruptible air. Jesus Christ. So then I start the long process of restoring 700 gigs from a USB 2 drive. And it looked like Acronis had froze for a solid hour and a half. An hour and a half of just staring. Mouse was still working, nothing else. And then all of a sudden, out of this massive loading bar, I see a little tick of green. Oh my God. The loading bar it's loading, Jesus Christ. And then it went. And I think it took about, I want to say 5 or 6 hours to transfer those 700 gigs worth of data. And I finally got files worthy. So the unfortunate part is I do not have a system state that I can reinstate, but I just had the most amazing chicken mac and cheese, homemade by the way, shown here. And I'm feeling it. Feeling it in my heart. My heart's pumping, half-mast. So yeah, I was able to restore the files. I have the files, so it's just gonna be a massive pain. The server rack has actually been a massive, massive challenge. And it looks fantastic, and I can't wait to show you guys what it looks like once it's all done. But it's not quite done. But the next video will be the tour of the case, the explanation of everything, the showcase of it, that kind of stuff. I got some parts that I'm waiting on. I have this Noctua cooler, because the cooler that's in there now is not going to work. This is a 92mm fan cooler that Noctua makes. That's going to be perfect for this case. I got a bunch of PWM extensions, and then I got a couple other pieces that I'm waiting for as well. But yeah, I'm sorry to break up the fantastic project log with this massive pain in the ass, but I really just wanted to highlight, hey, please God, back up not once, not twice. Twice is good. It's such an anomaly that I've experienced today. I don't expect anybody else to have the same issue that I did, but 3 backups is definitely perfection. But if you're not backing up, if you're a streamer, if you're a content creator, and you're not backing up everything in 2 different places, girlfriend smoking mad weed out there, I'm sure you probably heard that cough. But anyways, that's where I'm gonna end this one. Thank you for coming along to this story time with me. I'm gonna get out of here. Thank you for listening to this. I hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your week. And I am very excited to show you the next video where I showcase this entire office, and we also showcase the streaming PC and the whole rack mount setup, because I absolutely love it. And I hope you love it too. Take care.
Bad Dragon. These are some sick ass stickers though. Oh my God. Why? Why did you do that to me, website? Oh my God. Fuck.